Ready on the west. Get going in 3, 2, 1.
Very much look forward to you coming on, as you always bring some amazing topics and spot on intuition into some of the things that are ongoing that I think more and more Americans are becoming more and more concerned about. So if you don't mind, I'll let you take the floor and tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are.
As of late, I've had a lot of differing thoughts. Frankly, a little tired of all the psyop, becoming very aware that almost everything we're seeing, whether it's from mainstream media or the alternative media, it's not really what's going on. And I think from a financial perspective, the biggest thing that people need to be aware of is that the currencies, the revaluation, the global currency reset, that's the old world. That's certainly going to happen at some point in time. I don't think it's today. I don't think it's tomorrow. I think the news that's coming out from the podcasters and the quote intel community, I don't think they really understand what's going on, because they've been wrong, as we all know, year after year, month after month, day after day, week after week. And so we're getting a lot of bad information from a lot of places. So a couple of months ago, I started digging in to try to understand that. And what I found was that, as in my book, there are only three parts to this whole financial system: the bonds and the currencies that we all are hopeful to redeem and exchange at some point in time. That's from the old world. That has to be cleaned up. I don't particularly care what anybody says. It's going to happen, because if we don't recapture the financial world, we can't recapture everything else that's been stolen from us. That's the tool the Khazarian Mafia utilized. However, with that said, that's the old world. We've got to clean up the old financial system, which is the old fractional reserve, debt-based slave system, and we've got to implement the new system. And everybody talks about the QFS, and we're going to have QFS accounts at some point in time. There's no such thing as QFS accounts. There will be what are going to be referred to as stellar accounts. Stellar is the new ecosystem, or the quantum matrix, that's replacing the old fractional reserve debt-based slave system. And everybody's, in my opinion, everybody's missing that. That's the new ecosystem. Without that new ecosystem, we don't have a place to put our money or move our money. The old system can't handle all these multi-quadrillion, sextillion, septillions of dollars that are coming into the system. There's no place to put them. We've got to have a method, a system by which we can move that money. The old system can't handle it, and if it could, it'd be stolen from us. So everybody talks about lobster, and everybody's worried about whether it's a scam or not. Lobster's only it's a tool. It's just simply a wallet. What we need to be paying attention to is stellar and the new ecosystem. And if everybody remembers, I think it was in 2018, Trump took a trip around the world, met with all the heads of states, and he had all the evidence against everybody for the crimes against humanity. And they set up all the corporations around the world, what I say all, 90+%, to confiscate those assets. And all those assets are moving into stellar. That's the new world, and that's my new rant.
Well, we've had some discussions on the Stellar Network, and the main two that I'm aware of, and I know there's three. The main two that I'm aware of are the XLM, the Stellar Lumens, the XRP, which is the gold-backed version, if I'm not mistaken, and there was a third, and I can't remember what that was.
XDC, IOTA, and Algo are the five foundational coins.
Okay, well there you go. So there's even two more that I was unaware of. So those are the five main coins that can be pulled in, taken out, exchanged for other assets within the Stellar network, correct? And even off network. If someone,
I'm sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if someone wanted to say, go into lumens from U.S. dollars and come out of U.S. or come out of lumens and say, for whatever reason, go into Bitcoin or Ether or one of the other more traditional cryptos. The Stellar network provides that pathway, correct?
You have to use what I call a bridge. The bridge that I use is Coinbase. I believe that Coinbase has been taken over by the white hats. It was a black hat operation at one point in time, but now it's relatively safe, in my opinion. I wouldn't leave any money anywhere except in Stellar or in a hard wallet. Be sure and use two-factor authentication wherever you go. There are actually about 180,000 different coins that are in Stellar. Every single major corporation around the world is digitized to some degree in Stellar. The problem today is that it's not very liquid. So people have a tendency to want to put their money somewhere and make a lot of money right now. Stellar Network is like the currencies, it's like the bonds. It's going to be illiquid until we have this switch. I don't believe the switch is going to be an overnight thing. I think it's going to be a process that's going to take a period of time because there are literally millions of transactions that have to take place around the world. But at some point in time, and I think we're getting closer every day, Stellar is going to become the new world. It's going to be it's not just a stock market or a bond market or a commodity market. It's where all voting is going to take place. It's quantum everything. It's where all medical records are going to be. It's where the new legal system is going to be. It's going to be the blockchain for everything. Complete transparency and complete privacy and complete self-reliance. And that's the thing that I think people are having a lot of trouble with, is we've kind of been brainwashed for a very, very long time that we need the banks, that we need government, that we need the banksters, we need the brokers, we need attorneys. I won't be too crude right now, but that's a lot of nonsense. We don't need anybody except ourselves and our connection to our God, whatever that is. Take responsibility for yourself, and you're being provided that. The Alliance, the Earth Alliance, has done a fantastic job developing this stuff. The quantum computer system, the quantum financial system, it's going to manage the AI that manages all these systems. And that people have a tendency to think AI is bad because of all the propaganda. AI is just a tool. It's no different than money.
Yes, sir. And men can use tools to their own good or peril.
Absolutely.
We use AI in some of our, content writing for some of the press releases that have been coming out. And honestly, I mean, it is amazing if you know how to use it. I can see how it could become dangerous, but it's all on essentially prompt command. It's not going to do something dangerous on its own. It's going to be driven by man to do such at some point.
Absolutely. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, if directed properly, it's an amazing world we're walking into.
Yes, sir.
And it's happening all around us. And most people, in my opinion, are missing the biggest opportunity and the future. People are scared to death of wallets, but they do online banking every day. We've been using credit cards and digital money for probably 30 years now, maybe more. So there's nothing to be afraid of.
Right. And you were just talking about the Stellar Network and how it's, almost every major corporation has already got their platform built out, whether it's through a stock or a crypto, whatever it may be on the Stellar platform. And you can look at that, would you say, like almost as a placeholder for what they expect to come.
Absolutely. It's exactly what it is, because when they can't take the stock market down, I shouldn't say it that way. They can't take all the exchanges, the market exchanges down until the platform's completely built out. When they take them down, all those assets are being moved to Stellar. Can you imagine, or this to matrix, when new real money starts flushing into the network and the old system's gone, it's going to be an economic explosion that it's very difficult for us to even imagine.
I would say that the closest comparison would be the inaction of the Federal Reserve 110 years ago, as far as drastic change to the monetary system. Would you agree with that?
No.
I think
I
this
don't think
bigger.
it can much bigger. Because think about this. When the Federal Reserve came in 110 years ago, yeah, it was a drastic change at that point in time. And we know all the things that happened from that. But at that point in time, it really only affected, not exactly, but the US. What we're doing now affects every single person, every company, every government, every country, every county, every state, every business around the world. The stellar network that's being built out is connecting every moving piece in the world. There's nothing like it. There's never been anything like it. We're moving from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. We have to move from 3D to 5D, or we're not going to be able to handle it.
I guess I should have put that a little better. I would say the last significant move, right, that could be comparable would be the inaction of the Federal Reserve, and this is again so much bigger.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And so let's take a short break right quick. We'll come back, and I'd like to drop back and talk, starting with the Federal Reserve and kind of how we got to the system that we're in today. We'll be right back.
Fantastic.
All right, Patriots, welcome back. I'm your host, Farmer Ryan Early, and today we have Michael Avignon on. Michael, you've got a new book out, and could you tell us what that is and where we can find it?
Yeah, it's the global financial transition. It's the greatest financial opportunity in history, and it explains the transition from the old uh, central bank, Federal Reserve, debt-based slave system to the new quantum financial system. It's all about the financial system and where we're going.
Well, I think that's something that everyone has at the forefront of their mind. If not, then they need a V8 slap. So where can they find that book?
At the PPN store, it's on the front page, second item.
Very good, theppnstore.com. All right, let's drop back a little bit. Let's take it back to the beginning. And there's quite a few conspiracy theories, even some that have surfaced just here recently, on the Federal Reserve and the events leading up to it. I know we've had a little bit of discussion in weeks prior about the Titanic and who was on it, kind of some of the nefarious things that have arose, and then just recently, with the Ocean Gate submarine. And so, love to hear your insight on why the Federal Reserve may have been enacted and how they may have just been able to pull that off.
Now, as you know, and very few people do, the story goes way back a long ways before 1912, 1913. It actually goes back about 8,500 to 10,000 years to what's called Babylonian black magic money. And basically, the black magic or the magic money was usury. Usury is the creation of money out of thin air, the creation of nothing and charging the users interest on thin air. Bring that forward as technology became more sophisticated, printing presses began to be developed, and networks of people got a little bit more sophisticated, and the banksters, the Khazarian mafia, the Rothschild cartels learned that their biggest profit center was wars. They began financing each side of the war, and they needed to create a lot of money. And they did so by creating this fractional reserve, debt-based fiat slave system. That's what the Federal Reserve was all about in 1912, 1913. Actually, it was the third Federal Reserve. I believe it was Andrew Jackson who would not sign the contract for the third Federal Reserve, which was what the attempts on his life were. It's why Lincoln was assassinated. It's why Kennedy was assassinated. It's actually why Jesus was killed. He was fighting the money changers. So the history is very long, and it's been forever. The Rothschild cartel, the Satanists, the Luciferians, they practice Satanism. They're the most evil people on the planet. No souls. So, and that's what we've been living under. They've done a fantastic job, in my opinion, of brainwashing the world. They use the financial system to take over every single sector of our lives, from religions to education, pharmaceuticals, medical, and energy. And if we don't recapture the financial system, which is what the RV, the GCR, and Stellar is all about, we're SOL, because we've got to do the same thing they did. We have to recapture the financial system, or we're not going to recapture anything. And we've got to get rid of them stealing our money through taxation and what I call usury, or the Federal Reserve System, the central banking system.
Well,
I answered your question.
yes, sir, and that's the start.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
the financial system take back. We have to take back, many other areas, agriculture, food production,
Absolutely.
clean water facilitation in city municipalities. They've been poisoning us with fluoride and all of these other tactics of war, which have been played out many times before, right? That's how we found out fluoride. Many people don't know this, that Nazi Germany was using fluoride as a means of slow poisoning in the city municipalities in the years leading up to World War II. And one thing that was noticed when the concentration camps were freed was that the dental quality in these, millions of bodies was not that of someone who had been nutrient deficient. It was actually quite well, and so that is the guise of why they put fluoride in our water at a city level. It's slowly poisoning and weakening the immune system, and it's just another toxic invader that we're being taught is good for us and healthy for us, and it's actually been proven multiple times over to be deadly.
And that's just one of many. From my perspective, every single consumable product on the planet is a delivery system for a toxin. This is interesting. I just read this. I've been aware of this for a long time. I'm going to read you something. After only 4 weeks on a junk food diet, neural connections in your brain have been altered, leading to a decline in cognitive abilities, AKA dumbing you down. 4 weeks. Well, what do most people eat? People, in my opinion, do not even know what food is. And they don't even know what the purpose of eating is. There's only one reason to eat, that's to nourish ourselves. But how many other reasons do people eat? And then
Sure.
they eat because they're hungry instead of nourishing themselves. And then they don't even eat food.
That's right.
Food's supposed to have nutrients in it.
Well, and you talk about junk food, let's look at that. Let's break that down a little bit. So what is the basis of junk food? High fructose corn syrup, right? And glyphosate-rich carbohydrates. That is the two most deadly things that you could consume over time. And what's funny is, if we even take a bigger step back, those are the two ingredients that are not allowed to be present in food in other countries. America is the only country. Even Mexico, you buy a bottle of Coke from Mexico and it's made with real sugar, because high fructose corn syrup is it's carcinogenic. It's well known.
Absolutely.
It just, and it doesn't matter if it's junk food or if it's, fast food. There's no, unless you are buying food from a local farmer or growing your own as much as you can, you are being exposed to all of these caustic chemicals and invaders that they're intentionally forcing on us. Why would they do that? Well, that drives more industries downstream, the medical industry that needs sick people. They don't want cures for people. They want sick people because sick patients come to them and they build the insurance Ponzi scheme.
Absolutely.
And that trickles.
Pharmaceutical companies do not create cures, they create customers. Here's an interesting observation. I don't know if you're old enough to remember, maybe not, but you remember the movie Jaws?
Oh, yeah.
That was a major plan. Get people out of the sun, get them to start taking or utilizing sunscreens, which are all toxic. Get people out of vitamin D, scare the hell out of people so they don't go anywhere near the water or the sun. And it worked beautifully.
Oh, yeah. And that was just the start to many more. We're 50 years of psyops being played out through Hollywood. And probably longer than that, but 50 good years Absolutely. That we know of. Let's just say the entire Biden administration, his terms of service, right? We have been conditioned and manipulated into buying things such as milk. We're taught milk is good. It makes bones strong. I remember the Milk Does a Body Good commercials. Had the hot girl drinking the milk next to the mirror. I'm sure many others do. No, milk actually deteriorates bones in the body. It induces osteoporosis. We are not meant to drink cow's milk, and especially cow's milk that has been processed and homogenized and pasteurized and removed of anything that may have once been valuable as a nutrient. And because there's a little bit of calcium in it, they say it's okay. And even that is enriched. Most of the calcium that's in today's milk is not naturally present. So it's just crazy. It's absurd.
Yeah, I was having a meal. This goes back probably 40 years ago. I was having a meal. We had just finished working out, a training partner, mine and myself, and his girlfriend. We go to have a meal. I get a glass of milk, a good old fat, full glass of milk with turkey and vegetables. And she walks over to me and she puts her arm around me and she says, "Mike, you're not really going to drink that, are you?" I said, "Yeah, and I'm going to enjoy every drop of it." She said, "Do you realize that's got enough hormones in it to take a calf from birth to 1,000 pounds in a year?" That was the last glass of milk I drank. Makes no sense. And we're the only species on the planet that drink milk after infancy. And we drink it of another species.
Of another species. And I got to say, I'm a sucker for a cold glass of milk.
I get it.
My dad still swears milk is the best thing you could ever drink. And I bet he drinks a half a gallon of milk a day at 65 years old.
Wow.
And I've tried to preach. Hopefully he's watching. And we'll take it from somebody else, right? But, it's okay to have a glass of milk. It's okay to have a lot of things in moderation, in few and far between doses. As long as you have a healthy immune system, you have an active, immune system.
It's amazing what our bodies can handle if we keep ourselves healthy, but we can't do it much. The one thing that I learned is instead of drinking a cow's milk, I drink a little goat's milk. Yeah. I don't have any of the mucus issues that I have if I have a glass of whole milk or ice cream.
Yep. I'm actually in the process of breeding a new breed of goat that I was gifted blessed with a Finnish landrace goat, a Finn goat, from an exotic animal farm. And there is only, I believe Google says 5,200 Finn goats in the world.
Wow.
They're native to Finland. They have been the backbone of Finnish milk production and Swedish milk production for almost 4,000 years, documented. It's pretty powerful. And this goat can literally live on sticks and tree bark and twigs. It requires no grass, however thrives in grassy areas. Very resilient to cold and hot and drought. Yet they produce up to a gallon of milk a day. And
wow,
it's said that once they come into milk, they don't stop producing milk. So once one is bred, as long as she is milked, she'll produce milk forever, as to where other goats have to cycle through. And so I am in the process of crossing my intact male fin goat over a boar goat female, which is excellent for meat production, fast grower and good meat. And I'm crossing it with a Spanish milk goat, a American pygmy, and then also kinder goats. I got into kinder goats because they're a breed that is best for milk and meat both, kind of a prepper goat. So I'm really excited to breed this fin goat into some of these breeds, and this will be a project that'll take probably the rest of my life, right?
So let me ask you this. So obviously you agree that goat milk, is it a healthy milk, or is it just a lot better than cow's milk?
Goat milk is way different. Goat milk and meat are the two most consumed milk and meats in the world. And I didn't know that until just about a year ago. But goat milk has certain acids in it that are beneficial to digestive tracts, that it has certain peptides in it that I think can be very beneficial to muscle maintenance, gut health maintenance, much like the synthetic peptides that are on the market today. Also, those same peptides, or some of those peptides, are found in the membranes of chicken eggs, which we know hold the key to life to the chicken. I think goat's milk is very, very beneficial on much more of a level than just being, healthy, as rich in calcium, etc. I think it's
so goats have just not had a successful public relations campaign as the cows have.
Well, they've been almost demonized here. All the movies, everybody's sacrificing the goat, right? Not treating that goat like other civilizations have, as a very prized animal. Traditionally, most ancient civilizations did not eat cows. They ate goats and some pigs and other animals, but not cows. That is a European thing that's not that old. That's more of a recent thing. I would say last couple hundred years. And don't get me to quoting the history of the bovine, because I am not versed on that, but I do know that that's not something that we've done traditionally.
So with your goats, are they all living a natural life?
Oh, 100%. No vaccinations, never had a hormone or an antibiotic. I worm them naturally, and they free range my 10 acres. And when
you say they free range, what they just eat whatever they want to eat?
Well, I plant a lot of different grasses. I plant a lot of hemp. They free range on a lot of hemp.
So they choose the nutrients they need.
100%. And I make sure that they're supplemented with mineral blocks and things that they're not getting from just plant-based. Some of the goats, like the boar goats, they need a little more protein in their diet to build that muscle mass. But for the most part, they're great weed eaters. They say 5 goats will clear an acre a week.
Wow.
So up to 6 feet high.
I mean, the few goats that I've been around just from having horses, they were like really cool animals. A lot of fun, intelligent, inquisitive.
Yes, sir. I mean, they make great pets, great friends, and they pull their weight. Yeah. Tell you what, we're going to take a short break. We're going to watch a video that you've got, and then we'll come back and we will discuss a few more things.
Okay, cool. In this short yet exciting presentation, I will reveal the greatest financial opportunity in history and how you can profit significantly. This incredible opportunity is a result of the global financial transition. The entire financial world is shifting from the old central bank confiscatory inflationary system to the new quantum financial system. With this new system, the Federal Reserve and the IRS have been taken over by the United States Treasury, and GSAR, which is the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, has been established. GSAR will eliminate personal income taxes, forgive all mortgage debt, credit card debt, auto debt, and more, restore constitutional law, establish peace throughout the world, cease all military actions to create peace worldwide, release enormous sums of money for humanitarian purposes throughout the world, release thousands of hidden technologies, including free energy, anti-gravity, and sonic healing machines, restore financial privacy, and increase benefits to senior citizens. My name is Michael Avignon. I'm a veteran entrepreneur with 35 years of experience in developing emerging growth companies which pioneered new technologies. I've been a founder, principal financier, chairman, CEO, and/or president of 11 ventures focused on global markets, international finance, and international distribution in the public and private sectors. I've also turned $50,000 into $2.4 million in 3 days, trading gold, silver, and copper. And I've traded futures contracts in amounts up to $40 million. As an aside, not one of my investors has lost money in the last 30 years. I've recently released my new book, The Global Financial Transition. In it, I thoroughly explain the old central bank, fractional reserve, debt-based, fiat slave system, and why we must transition to the new quantum financial system. You will soon understand how this transition is creating the greatest financial opportunity in history and how you can benefit. Most people do not understand that their earning power, purchasing power, and wealth has been methodically stolen their entire lives. Simply put, the old system was designed to confiscate money through inflation, taxation, and usury, which is interest on nothing. Accordingly, the old system has to be completely scrubbed and revamped so the new system can take over. I understand that the complexity of this process has seemed daunting, but with what you will learn here and in my book, you will no longer be confused by the RV, GCR, QFS, or Stellar Initiative and how all these pieces fit together. You will become the expert. I will simplify it all and put it in layman's terms so anyone can understand it. Although the economy may seem dark, with the global financial transition, your future is extremely bright. So let's get started. Over the last 4 years, I have researched every aspect of global geopolitics and global geoeconomics, which is how I uncovered the greatest financial opportunity in history, the global financial transition, which is the largest transfer of wealth in history. This has been purposely hidden from the public. You will soon understand why. To thoroughly understand this opportunity, I conducted a historical study of the banking system that spanned the last 2,500 years, and I spent the last 4 years researching all the economic and political events of the last 60 years. From this extensive research, I concluded that we are at the precipice of the global financial transition, which has created the greatest financial opportunity in history. Subsequently, I figured out how to benefit, and now in my new book, The Global Financial Transition, I'm teaching others how to benefit as well. Critical to understanding geopolitics and geoeconomics is understanding the foundation of our financial system and being able to distinguish between real money, gold, silver, etc., and fiat, or fake money, which are the inflationary systems. I developed this distinction in a university economics class. On that fateful day, our professor was lecturing on inflation, during which I realized inflation is nothing more than counterfeiting, the creation of fake money. I raised my hand, the professor recognized me, and I blurted out, "Professor, it sounds to me like inflation is counterfeiting." He responded, "Mike, you're exactly correct. What is misunderstood most about inflation is that the central bankers who control the money supply are always the only winners of inflation, and they win big while everyone else loses. The central bankers create inflation, and they profit in 2 ways. They charge interest on the money they create out of thin air. This is called usury. And they issue these zero-cost dollars to their cronies, or corporations and banks they own, who in turn exchange these worthless, counterfeited, zero-cost dollars for valuable assets such as stocks, bonds, and commodities. So why am I discussing inflation in the introduction to the greatest financial opportunity in history? Inflation is the strategy that the central bankers and their minions utilize to steal the labor and assets from 99% of the world's population. And because of the enormity of this theft through inflation by the central bankers, the world is on the precipice of a financial collapse that will make the Great Depression seem like a bedtime story. This is why there is such an enormous opportunity. The following was a quote from the founder of the Rothschild cartel, which exemplifies how little regard the Rothschilds have for us, the citizens of the world, our laws, and how powerful he saw money to be. This is who created the modern-day central banking, confiscatory, inflationary schemes. I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire in which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply. So let's dig a little deeper into this inflationary scheme that is such an enigma to most. Hello, The Dow chart compared to the US dollar chart demonstrates the devastation of inflation perfectly. This slide confirms these findings over an approximate 100-year period. This is why the Dow has done so well over the last 100 years. The top chart is of the Dow, and the bottom chart is of the US dollar adjusted for inflation. As you see, there is an exact inverse correlation. As the Dow has increased, the dollar has declined approximately 98%. Why? The Dow's rise is in large part due to inflation. Let that sink in. When the Fed is printing money, the value of the dollar is reduced, and those who receive the newly printed US dollars exchange them for something that has real value, so they buy equities, bonds, and commodities. As you saw on the above charts, inflation, newly printed money, worth less money, is the primary reason the Dow and other stock indexes have risen. Simply put, owning a portion of a company or a stock is more attractive and prudent than owning the dollar, a currency that is deteriorating in value. So what is the result? Inflation confiscates the wealth of the citizens and therefore damages the economy, which significantly diminishes the opportunities for its citizens. No matter who you are negatively impacted because your dollar becomes worth less. Unless, of course, you are a central banker and you get to print money, charge us interest, and then put the interest you didn't really earn to work elsewhere. The next slides are of the US dollar from 1912 to present. What has happened to its purchasing power? US dollar purchasing power as of 1912 was worth $1. This is a picture of the dollar today. This is the value of the dollar today. The red represents how much the central bankers have stolen. The little bit of the dollar that is left today on the bottom right, which is the true value of your dollar. And as you see, you have been robbed. Where did the dollar go? Through inflation, it went to the Fed and the Fed's cronies, other companies they own. Remember, the Fed is a private bank and their business is printing our money and charging us interest on it. The more they print, the more interest they receive, and the less valuable the dollar becomes. This is why everything of value has increased in price and the dollar has decreased in value since 1912. We don't get any money, but we pay interest on it. What a deal, huh? This is critical to understand because it is the reason we must move to the new system, the quantum financial system. Woodrow Wilson was the president of the Rothschild cartel blackmailed to sign the contract to implement the third and the current Federal Reserve. He explained what has happened to our financial system best in 1912 when he said, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is now controlled by its system of credit. We are no longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men." And Alan Greenspan, who was one of the most revered and longest reigning chairmen of the Federal Reserve, further explained what happens when a financial system is not based on real assets such as gold. In the absence of the gold standard, there is no way to protect savings from confiscation through inflation. There is no safe store of value. The following chart summarizes the truth about our financial system by comparing the returns in the stock markets to gold from 1953 to 2023, in which gold outpaced the Dow 4 times. Let that sink in. Investment returns from 1953 to 2003. The Dow moved up 128 times. Gold moved up 521 times. Previous charts graphically illustrate what happens with an inflationary system. At some point, inflation becomes hyperinflation, and then no amount of money can buy anything, and abject poverty ensues. Just in the last few decades, we have seen this in Zimbabwe, Iraq, Afghanistan, Indonesia, Vietnam, and most recently in Venezuela. Also notice that these are the richest countries in the world in natural resources. Coincidence? Not at all. These economic collapses were all manufactured by the central bankers to steal their natural resources. And now, we in the US are on the verge of hyperinflation also. In March of 2021, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet was at $4 trillion. Their balance sheet grows by the amount they inflate the economy. 8 months later, it exceeded $8 trillion, and today it is exponentially higher. Inflation has exploded since 2021. No economy in the world can withstand this amount of inflation without a total collapse, and that is the objective of central bankers. And this is why there is such an enormous opportunity. What is happening in the U.S. is no different than what happened in Zimbabwe, Iraq, Afghanistan, Indonesia, Vietnam, or Venezuela. Once this economic destruction is created by the central bankers, they swoop in and buy or steal all the country's assets for pennies on the dollar. While this may be unconscionable, the central bankers have been doing this all over the world for centuries. After they finish destroying these economies and stealing their assets through lending, usury, and inflation, they offer the countries the same solution all over again. It is a vicious cycle. They create the problem, wait for the people to react, and then offer the solution. It's called Hegelian dialectic. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, or problem, reaction, and solution. It is the most effective strategy for manipulating people, and it works time and time again, and the people never even notice. This has been occurring in the U.S. for many decades as the central bankers create boom and bust economic cycles by inflating the money supplies and manipulating interest rates. Most people think interest rates are controlled by market forces. They are not. They are controlled by the central bankers for their own nefarious purposes, profits by theft. These periods of boom and bust cycles are one of the central bankers' main strategies. Since the central bankers control the money supply and interest rates, they know what is next for the economy and are always one step ahead of the rest of us. This is the epitome of insider trading. As they drive interest rates down, the rest of us buy stocks, bonds, commodities, which drive the markets higher. Since the central bankers know where the top of the markets will be, because they control the interest rates, they wait for the top of the market and then sell their overinflated stocks, bonds, and commodities to the rest of us. Then they drive the markets down by raising interest rates. This forces the rest of us to sell while the central bankers wait for the bottom of the markets to buy assets, which are the stocks, bonds, and commodities, at market lows, and then they start the cycle all over again. The solution. During the mid to late 1700s, the nefarious bankers known as the Rothschilds were expanding their central banking empire and gained significant momentum throughout Europe. Their plan of usury, which is charging interest on fiat or fake money, and inflation was designed to confiscate all assets and businesses worldwide. To counter this evil strategy, a benevolent group of super wealthy sovereign families of Asia known as the Dragon families formed. This group pooled their assets into a series of complex off-ledger private banking trusts, collectively known today as the global collateral accounts. These sovereign families assumed the responsibility of the keepers of humanity's wealth, including its anonymity, with plans to eventually restore the world's prosperity. Fast forward to post-World War II at the Bretton Woods Conference in New Hampshire, which occurred in 1944, where the benevolent and malevolent sides agreed to a truce to reset the world's financial system. As a result, the benevolent, or the keepers, agreed to place a portion of the global collateral accounts gold into central banking vaults worldwide to back the new financial system. This gold was on lease to all good-standing sovereign nations for a 50-year period with a 5-year transition ending on September the 11th, 2001. As the next few decades passed, the Rothschild cartel, or the cabal, continued their world domination, evil agenda, and infiltrated each nation's central and public banking sector, executive government, leadership, and judiciary. They were able to keep their activities hidden from the public because they had purchased and in turn had total control of all print, radio, TV, and digital media outlets. In response, the keepers accelerated their plan, which includes backing all world currencies with gold or real assets and eliminating the Rothschild cartel. Over several decades, a brilliant plan was developed and activated to ensure all governments of the world would willingly participate in a new, more secure financial system. As the physical end drew near for the Rothschild cartel, they became more and more desperate. And on September the 11th, 2001, at 8 a.m., on the exact day and time the gold was to be returned to the keepers, the cabal conducted an unthinkable operation in New York City. This was followed by other pre-planned wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. At this point, the alliance had had it. Enough was enough. This strengthened the alliance's resolve to put an end to the control by the Rothschild cartel. Subsequently, this cartel is now on its last leg, and here we are today, with the Dragon families and the alliance serving humanity to implement a new financial system, the quantum financial system, that permanently frees humanity from debt, usury, and financial enslavement. This benevolent group has completely drained the cabal swamp of all its power. Accordingly, we are now on the brink of this transition to rehydrate the world with real money, which brings us to the executive summary. With the Alliance and Dragon family strategy, the old corrupt, swift central bank, fractional reserve, debt-based fiat slave system has been dismantled, and the new asset-backed quantum financial system is being implemented worldwide. This will put an end to the theft of our money and assets through taxation and inflation by the Rothschild cartel. No more central banking control of our money. It's our money, and we are now finally in control. This transition has begun. Transactions are beginning at the highest levels in Hong Kong, Philippines, Zurich, Europe, Reno, and Miami, and the largest sellers with trillions and quadrillions of dollars of assets and bonds who will hydrate the world are in process. There is not much time left to participate in these transactions. Time is of the essence, which brings us to the conclusion. As I have demonstrated, the world's financial system has been decimated, and the world has been robbed of its assets by a small group of criminals through their central banking inflationary scheme. An inflationary central banking scheme is designed to last approximately 100 years, and the existing Federal Reserve central bank scheme is now 110 years old. It's about 10 years past its time to fail. Anytime a rubber band is stretched too far, it must snap back or break. The central bank system is the rubber band that is stretched way too far. As Newton's law states, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Whenever you have markets that are this out of sync with reality, the correction must be just as drastic. This is the fundamental reason why the returns from the global financial transition will be so large. This is basic universal law. At some point, this must be corrected. That time is now. This is the epitome of a buy low, sell high opportunity. You can literally risk a small amount of money that you can afford to lose, and there's a high likelihood of making unimaginable gains. This is the perfect opportunity. This transition provides a low risk, potentially high return investment, the kind of investment that never comes along, but we always hope for and never see. Well, you are seeing it. Do you recognize it? If you are interested in the greatest financial opportunity in history, I have written The Global Financial Transition just for you. Good luck, and thanks for watching.
All right, welcome back, Patriots. We're here with Michael Avignon joining us today. We've been talking about all kinds of great stuff from, we really, I guess, just briefly, we should drop back to the Treasury and why that was done, how they've used that to steal our wealth over the last 100 years, and maybe a little bit about how that system's time has kind of ran up. I don't, how it was designed for 100 years, and we're past that.
Yeah, it looks like we're about 10 years past its time to fail. When I used to do a lot of trading, all kinds of leveraged instruments. And one of the things that we as traders were always looking for is when the spring is compressed so much that at some point in time it's got to explode, or the rubber band is stretched way too far and it's got to contract. We're way past both those points. And this system has got to implode. It is imploding. Look around the world and we see the BRICS nations. The BRICS, what most people don't understand is the BRICS nations were formed back in about 2008. They say 2011, 2012. I think it started a lot earlier than that. And it was to combat the U.S. financial powerhouse. They put together a new financial powerhouse with the full expectation of driving everything to an asset-backed currency, which is what's in the process of happening now. Well, as countries trade, trade for all various kinds of commodities, if they've got a choice of taking the US dollar that's not worth much more than toilet paper or an asset backed currency, they're going to take the asset backed currency. So the BRICS nations and all their trading partners that are asset backed really are squeezing the petrodollar or the US dollar out of the marketplace. And so, in my opinion, it's happening exactly what we want. We just don't know exactly what's happening because we're getting fed a lot of misinformation at this point. But it's definitely happening. And for me, it's the most exciting time in my life. And I think we're going to see the greatest financial opportunities in history from this.
Absolutely. Your book gave us some great insight on kind of what that transition looks like. You've already gave us some golden nuggets early on in the XRP and the XLM, the Lumens, and the Stellar Network. And so hopefully everybody took that to heart, and we'll do some digging on that. I think they'll be pleased with what they find. I did my research based on just that, and found that it looks like it fits what I need and what I expect to happen. So, I didn't go ham. Put a little bit in, and we'll see what happens. So, I can't
Yeah,
thank you enough.
I agree with that. I don't recommend anybody risk the farm on it. Protect your capital, but we've got a situation right now, in my opinion, it's the greatest financial opportunity in history because these assets are being sold, even silver and gold. And personally, I don't recommend silver and gold unless you've got some substantial wealth to protect, because the opportunity with XLM and XRP from a leverage perspective is a lot greater, because the alliance is attempting to provide people, the average person, with a serious opportunity. And so the leverage that's going to be gained out of those asset-backed digital coins is going to be a lot greater. If you've got significant wealth to protect, absolutely go hard gold and silver. But if you're just trying to make something happen, use those coins, use the currencies, use the bonds. And I think it's going to pay off big. We're going to, the objective with the gold and other asset-backed currencies around the world is to create a level playing field from country to country, so countries don't have an advantage over one another when they trade for commodities. It's the same thing with the Stellar Network and the currencies and the bond redemption for the individual. We're trying to get rid of this poverty and this food insecurity by creating much more of a level playing field for everybody around the world. One of the things that just happened in Stellar, which is very exciting to me, MasterCard just did a project called Immersive. And the test was in Australia and New Zealand. And the test was all about connecting every Aboriginal to the quantum matrix. And so because those Aborigines don't have bank accounts, they don't have credit cards, but they do have telephones. Through their telephones, they are now banked. And so one of the objectives is to connect every single person in the world to this new financial matrix, which is going to create a very, very different financial world for all of us. So,
I couldn't agree more. And most everyone already has Samsung Pay, Apple Pay. They're already banking on their phone. They already get their credit card statements on their phone. Like this is not like it's going to be some big shock. Even those who have zero income and are 100% reliant on government assistance have government phones. And I believe that's a lot of the reason why those programs are still continuing to run, because, and even ramping up, they are trying to get the phones in the hands of every individual over the age of 18 as they prep
Absolutely. There's somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 billion unbanked people on the planet. if that's close, that's a 30%er. And all of a sudden you bring 30% of the world's population into the economic system, you've got an economic boom. Plus, we've got this excess amount of capital, real money, in the hands of people who want to do humanitarian work. All of a sudden, poverty starts being eliminated from the planet. And the truth is, people don't understand this, but there's no reason to have poverty or food insecurity anywhere. This multiverse that we live in is absolutely abundant, but we've been brainwashed to believe it's very scarce, and it's not. So there's no reason that everybody on the planet can't just be very healthy and very happy and not have these stresses and struggles of being broke and can't take care of your family.
They just got to be willing to unplug from the matrix, from the mundane.
Yeah, absolutely. Unplug from the brainwashing, but the rest of us have to do some new brainwashing.
Sure.
We got to clear our brains of all this nonsense that's been going on.
I think as events continue to unfold in the near future, more and more people are going to wake up. I've talked to so many people and asked them about, their thoughts on the collapse of the dollar and the transition into a digital system. And they say, no way, never happened. The dollar will. If you're in that mindset of there's no way it will never happen, then you're the one that's going to be transitioning a lot of your wealth into someone else's pockets.
Absolutely.
Because it is a reset. It's a reset. And the average American middle class taxpayer is the one that's going to get hit the hardest. And I think that there's ways, again, to help offset some of that at the very least, with the Stellar Network and being able to get into some of these assets early and hold, without spending a fortune on it. So, and
I also think that the Alliance has planned for that. And one of the ways I think they've planned for that is through the UBI. I do believe that we're going to have a lot of the stolen capital returned to us. The straw man money that's been stolen from us, the taxation that's been stolen from us, the illegal mortgages, the illegal credit card usury interest that's been stolen. And I think there's going to be a UBI. And so the average person that's just choosing to be asleep and not pay attention and not take responsibility, they're even going to be taken care of. Dumb and Dumber is going to be taken care of, because I think this is about while it's certainly about teaching the rest of us about abundance, it's also about generosity. And I think we're getting a lot of help from, I dare to say, but I'm going to say it, off-planet races. There's a lot of intelligence out there that we're not aware of and don't want to be open to. But I think we're getting a lot of help, a lot of guidance, and a lot of assistance from other places. And they're going to share that wisdom with us, that success with us.
That is the biggest, most prosperous hope of all, right?
I think so.
Is enlightenment and acknowledgement that wrongs have been done and that rights are being replaced right now.
Yeah.
So, Michael, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. It's been a pleasure as always. I feel like we need 3 more hours, so Absolutely. We're going to have to do this again soon.
Available anytime you want.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll definitely get you back on the schedule to come chat. I know our viewers love hearing you. For all of you, thank you for joining us here on Pioneering Change. I'm your host, Farmer Ryan Early, and until next time, I'll continue searching the past to grow a brighter future for everyone. Stay tuned.
Are we ready on the east?
Ready on the east.
Ready on the west?
Ready on the west.
Get going in 3, 2, 1.